This right next to me is the updated Kia Carnival, and it has been totally revised, not only with updated styling, an upgraded Australian ride and handling tune, and also now available as a hybrid. It's pretty much the Kia Carnival that we never received due to COVID in 2021. And in this full detailed review, I'm going to cover everything you need to know about it. Before we talk about the design, let's just cover the model range. So this new Carnival has a price range between $50,000 climbing past $76,000 for the top specification GT line hybrid. But just keep in mind that particular variant has a long waiting list as there is short production, and it's only available in the GT line trim. Whereas throughout the range, you have a choice between a naturally aspirated petrol V6 or this 2.2 litre diesel, and this particular version that I'm featuring is the GT line, which is priced from $72,880 before on-road costs. And in terms of rivals, the Carnival is the type of vehicle that you're going to compare with the Hyundai Staria, the LDV Mifa, and finally the Toyota Granvia. Okay, let's talk about the design. So the colour of this is finished off in deep chroma blue, which is a $695 cost option. And if you don't like that colour, there are 7 other external colours to pick from. And in terms of the design, this is what the pre-update used to look like. However, with this new facelifted version, the Carnival takes a lot of inspiration from the EV9 as well as the updated Sorento. So you've got full LED headlights along with LED DRLs, LED turn signals as well, along with some plastic body cladding that is also complemented by the satin chrome trim, and that also extends up the top here with the satin chrome design elements. And now moving towards the side view of the Kia Carnival, this particular version is the GT line, so that means it sits on 19-inch alloy wheels, and the wheels themselves are finished off in gloss black, complemented by this brushed aluminium. And looking towards the side, you've got this satin chrome side plate, and you also get more of that satin chrome finish on the door handles. And not only you get keyless entry for the front doors, this also features keyless entry on the power sliding doors, so that's quite useful if you've got your hands full. In addition to that, there are also these satin chrome roof rails, and there is also this interesting design pattern. And if we look towards the lower section, additional body cladding, again with satin chrome finish. And finally, on the rear quarter, privacy glass. And now moving towards the rear design of the Carnival, so like before, you get an LED light bar, and this is what the 2021 model used to look like, and this is the current version. So the rear tail lights have been redesigned, and if we look lower down, you've got more of that plastic body cladding along with this satin chrome finish. There's also a camera up the top here that's actually for the digital rear mirror. And finally, on the boot lid, a restyled Kia logo. Okay, moving on to the interior inside the Carnival. So before you climb inside, this receives a remote key along with keyless entry for all 4 doors, and towards your knee, a push power start button. And moving towards the right hand side, you've got the 2 buttons here for the power sliding doors. Now, in terms of the design changes, the Carnival now receives a dual 12.3-inch curved display, whereas on the pre-update, specific to the Australian variants, the Carnival only received the analog gauge cluster. And if we move on to build quality, the door slam is fairly solid. You get soft touch materials on the top here, hard plastics down the bottom, however soft padding on the doors even where you rest your elbow. And moving towards the centre, soft padding along here, however plastic in the center. But aside from that, soft touch materials on the top here. And this, of course, being the GT line, it receives a power operated sunroof that opens and closes, along with a rotary controller in the center, paddle shifters on the steering wheel. You also get green ambient lighting that runs along the doors and even towards the center. On this panel here, you can swap it from media to dual zone climate control. You also have electric adjustment for both front row seats, and they can also both be heated and ventilated. However, the driver receives lumbar support along with the seat memory function. And you also get a heated steering wheel, which overall feels very nice to grip onto, and it's also wrapped in leather. And finally, the steering offers both manual, tilt and reach adjustment. And if we move on to infotainment, it all runs off this 12.3-inch screen. There are also knobs and touch sensitive controls, as well as some key buttons on the steering wheel as well. And if I go into media, you've got AM, FM, DAB radio, along with Bluetooth, USB and USB video. And scrolling towards the right hand side, you've got Sounds of Nature that plays nice ambient music throughout the cabin. And all that plays out of a 12-speaker Bose sound system, which is featured on this top spec GT line. And if I go into mapping, as you can see, the Carnival receives full inbuilt satellite navigation with speed sign recognition, and the map layout is pretty crystal clear. And in addition to that, there's also voice control, but just keep in mind that only works when you connect to your smartphone. And moving on to smartphone mirroring, you have both wireless Apple CarPlay and wireless Android Auto, and this is what that looks like on the screen. So as you can see, full screen integration, and overall that works really well within the infotainment. There is also passenger talk, so as you can hear, it echoes my sound throughout the cabin, a quiet mode that shuts off the rear speakers for your rear passengers. And finally, you've got voice memos, so if you come up for an idea, you can record your own messages. And if we move on to safety and assistance, you get a full 360-degree camera along with multi-angle views. So for the front, you can go into a widescreen, your gutter view, and again for the rear, a widescreen layout. And this button here goes into your 360-degree camera mode. In addition to that, there are also front and rear parking sensors, cross traffic alert for both front and rear, as well as front and rear autonomous emergency braking with cyclist and pedestrian detection. There is also an auto dimming rear view mirror, and if I just do this, as you can see, the GT line receives a digital rear view mirror. There is also blind spot monitoring on the wing mirrors, as well as a blind spot camera within the digital instrument cluster. And in addition to the GT line, this features level 2 autonomous driving and lane change. So that means the Carnival has the ability to steer itself within its lane. And finally, towards the center, speed sign recognition. And moving on to the 12.3-inch screen, it is worth mentioning that it isn't really that configurable, but towards the center you can cycle through different menus, looking at map directions, driver assistance, fuel consumption, and other vital key data. And right in front of me, this being the GT line, you get the full heads-up display showing speed sign recognition, driver assistance, and as well as your digital speed. And overall that picture quality is very nice. You also get a drive mode button to swap it from Eco, Normal, Sport and Smart. And this button here is to automatically hold the car when you're at a set of traffic lights on a hill. And if we move on to practicality, the glove box is a fairly decent size. As you can see, it fits the owner's manual quite easily. There is also additional storage along the side. And in terms of connectivity, you've got an AC power outlet along with dual USB-C charging ports, and if you press this button, that will swap it from wireless phone charging into a charging port. There is also a wireless phone charging pad in the center. 2 small cup holders, as well as some storage here, and if I open this up, the glove box goes down pretty deep. And finally, on the doors, decent door bin storage along with a spot there for a bottle of water. Okay, moving on to the second row. So first up, adjustment. You can slide the seats forwards and backwards. You can also recline them backwards and forwards. And in terms of comfort, these 2 outboard seats can be heated. And above me are some directional air vents along with a separate climate panel on the right hand side. And if we move on to other key features, you've got map pockets behind the rear seats, a shopping bag hook, 2 USB-C charging ports, and you can also move this seat forwards and backwards and even recline it backwards and forwards if this passenger requires additional room. And if I just lower this section down, you've got some storage here along with 2 cup holders and 2 slots for mobile phones. In addition to that, you've also got 2 armrests that fold down. And if we look towards the center, a 12-volt socket with a bit of storage down the bottom here, 2 small cup holders, and finally a spot there for a mobile phone. You've also got these manual sunshades to keep light out of the cabin, and above me you get a power sunroof that does open. And finally, these 3 outboard seats, including the middle seat, are ISOFIX compatible, and right behind me there are 3 top tether points. Right, let's now move on to the third row. So even though this second row seat is fixed into the far back position, I've still got plenty of knee room, toe room, and also pretty good headroom as well. And you can adjust these seats forward if you do need additional capacity, and even the middle seat as well. So loads of adjustment in terms of how you want the back seats arranged. And it is worth noting that in most 7-seat SUVs, adults don't really fit very well on the third row, whereas in the Carnival, it's pretty spacious for all types of people. And if you need even more headroom, if you're over 6 foot, you can recline the seats back. And in regards to other key features, above me are directional air vents, and on each side of the door panels, there are 2 USB-C charging ports. And you've also got manual sunshades on each side, including 2 cup holders on the right-hand side, and a spot there for a mobile phone. And on the left hand side, additional storage with 1 cup holder and a spot there for a mobile phone. There are also ISOFIX points on these 2 outboard seats, and finally right behind me there are 2 top tether points, so in total there are 5 ISOFIX and top tether points all around the back seats. Okay, moving on to the boot space. So as you can see, this model variant receives a power operated tailgate, and once it's open, from what we can see, there is 627 litres of boot capacity, and the boot itself goes down pretty deep in comparison to other rivals, and the seats themselves are adjustable, so if you do need to carry or stack up a couple of suitcases, if you were to use this as a hire car for example, that is possible. And in comparison to the Mercedes V-Class or the Toyota Grand Via, the Carnival does offer a lot of space back here. And you can also expand the capacity quite easily using these levers, so you can pretty much do this one-handed. And in terms of capacity, just under 2,800 litres. The process is quick and simple, and the seats, although they are a little bit heavy, they're easy to lift up and down, and these are some of the rearrangements that I have achieved to do. And there are also in total 4 shopping bag hooks, and on the right hand side a 12-volt socket, and if you look lower down, that is location for the toolkit and jack. And on the left hand side, additional shelved storage to put away loose items, and for the spare tyre, that is located under the car on the right hand side towards the middle. Like I mentioned before, you have a choice between a 3.5 litre V6, which is naturally aspirated, and also a 1.6 litre hybrid version, or for an additional $2,200 you could go for this 4-cylinder turbocharged diesel engine. And personally, this is the powertrain type that I would go for if I was buying a Carnival. And this is paired to an 8-speed automatic gearbox that sends all of its power to the front wheels, delivering 148 kilowatts and 440 newton meters of torque. And finally, in terms of ownership details, Kia offers a 7-year unlimited kilometre warranty, along with 8 years of roadside assistance. So behind the wheel in the new Carnival, what is it like? Well, first of all, you've got great vision up the front, good side vision as well, decent sized wing mirrors, and of course those blind spot cameras right in front of you. And finally, rear visibility is also pretty good. So what does the Carnival like to drive at lower speeds? Well, first impressions, the ride is very soft. And yeah, that is thanks to Kia's Australian ride and handling tune, which wasn't available on the pre-update. So going over bumps, until surfaces, the ride is flawless, and overall this is the best MPV you can buy that offers the best refinement. And in comparison to something like a Toyota Grand Via, which is basically a Toyota Hiace with leather seats, the Carnival is much better to drive. I haven't driven some of the other rivals like the LDV, but I have also driven a Mercedes V-Class, and yes, that is rear-wheel drive. It does drive like a W205 C-Class, but it is old. They came out in 2015, and yeah, $120,000 to $130,000 for that car. And in terms of handling, Kia have also tuned the steering feel, so yeah, dynamically it feels a lot better. Now, in terms of acceleration, if you put your foot down, it's got more than enough pickup for this type of vehicle, so it's pretty punchy. I don't think you really need to go for the V6 if performance is on your agenda. That lane keeping assist is very annoying. Now, if we play with the drive modes, you've got a button here, Eco, Normal, Sport and Smart. So in Eco, it's fairly efficient. I've been driving around in that drive mode. Normal, you don't really feel a difference. However, in Sport, the steering has a bit more weight to it, and of course the throttle response is a lot more lurchy, and the gear shifts, they seem to hold a little bit longer. So what about fuel consumption? Well, the petrol V6 has a claimed figure of 9.6 litres per 100, 6.5 litres per 100 for this diesel, and 5.8 litres per 100 for the petrol hybrid. And in terms of what I've achieved, currently it is sitting on 8.4 litres per 100, and I've almost travelled just under 300 kilometres in this car, and a lot of that was city driving, so I'm pretty impressed with that figure. And the fuel consumption also dropped down on the motorway to around 7 litres, so I'm pretty happy with that in terms of this engine's efficiency and the performance. The one thing that is annoying is the speed sign recognition and that lane assist, as you can hear, so you can quite easily turn that off. But yes, you do need to do that on every ignition cycle. But apart from that, the driving experience is pretty much flawless for a car in this class. So what is my final verdict on the Kia Carnival? Well, it has crept up in price, not really that much in comparison to other make and models these days, but the Carnival has definitely improved, so you are getting more tech, better ride and handling tune, pretty much all that Kia promised with the last version. But let me know what you think of my verdict down in the comment section below, and if you've gained value from my review, please give it a like, share, subscribe, hit that bell icon to receive notifications every time I upload a new car review. But as always, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next film.